Here is Roelly the Beast Winklaar in 2018 backstage at the Mr. Olympia event. He is proudly displaying his People's Championship title that he earned. You see, the judges have their say. Obviously, Sean Roden won, Phil Heath placed second, and Roelly himself placed third. But the fans themselves, the people, they decided on Roelly the Beast Winklaar. This is the fans' choice, the people's champion. What a very exciting title, and it began in 2018, so Roelly was the first. Was he the best? Well, I don't know. Today we're going to decide. We're going to do a great big comparison between all the people's champions. And this is actually a fan request from a guy that I watch, Superset Man. So thank you, Superset Man, for this great idea. Roelly was the first. Who was the second people's champion, I ask you? This man, Hadi Choopan. Hadi Choopan. This was actually his very first ever Olympia event, 2019. He placed third, just like Roelly. Interesting. Is that what they were going to do? Just give it to the third place guy every year? No. The fans really preferred Hadi Choopan's physique in 2019. And in 2020, they proved that it wasn't just for the third place guy. Great big ramrod, Ramy, Baye. He was the people's champion. They decided on him, and for the first time, 2020, the judges and the fans shook hands and agreed on a champion. So congratulations goes to Big Ramy, and it's going to be exciting to see him compared with all the other champions. 2021, this is interesting. This is an interesting situation, I should say. Hadi Choopan pulls off the big win once again, with the fans voting for him over Big Ramy or Brandon Curry, and he actually placed third once again. So a lot of third place guys hoisting this title up in the air. Now, for the comparison, we're not going to split hairs, guys. We're not going to confuse things by throwing two Hadi Choopans in this. I'm sure everybody agrees 2021 was not Hadi's best. 2019 was arguably his best. We're going to use, 2019 in the comparison. So go right over to 2022, and good old Nick Walker, he pulls off the win. And you know what? I think he could even won the Olympia that year, 2022. And he was the people's champion.
Well, I don't care. I'll raise his damn hand. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Do you guys know he was there? 2023, just last year, maybe the most forgotten people's champion. Derek Lunsford proves once again that it's not just for third place guys to win this title. It actually is voted on. And it would be interesting to see finally somebody that places second winning this title. It's always been first or third. Weird. So Derek Lunsford will make the last ingredients in this Ramalama big old comparison. Look at this, guys. Look at these 5 all-stars. And yes, I'm sure at one point in time or another, I have compared all of these guys with, say, Roelly the Beast Winklaar or Big Ramrod 2020. But we're going to forget about all of those comparisons. This is like when Vince McMahon wanted you guys to forget that Andre already wrestled Hulk Hogan hundreds of times before WrestleMania 3. They just wanted you to forget about that. So forget about the past. Let us go into the present. The present. Wow. Actually, I did a best third place at the Olympia at one time. So we did see a few of these guys compared. I'm pretty sure. But you know, sometimes you have different moods strike you. Different decisions will be made. Nick Walker looks pretty good in this lineup, I can tell you that. If you turn it into a muscle contest rather than a just shape and aesthetic competition, Nick Walker. It's funny, him and Derek Lunsford, you could kind of go either way with these guys, but I think the 2022 Nick Walker, his arms were just so gosh darn big. He was huge. Let's face it, he's not Victorian waistlined anyway, so I mean, go for the size. Big Ramrod, not that impressed with the arm situation. I'm sure you guys are going to say, this is a bad picture of Ramy. Well, I'm not a bounty hunter. I'm not going to go track down the best picture of the guy. Although that is my job, so I probably should. But this is what we have, guys. Hadi Choopan, whether you like it or not, he was a little smaller in 2019. His quads were huge. Upper body, things of that nature, he was a little bit more slender. And what can you say? Boo Bunder. Wow. Wow. Him and Nick Walker, I mean, they're probably winning this one. And as far as Hadi, Ramy, and Derek, you could really flip a coin between all of those guys. Derek, he seems to be who I lean towards. If you're on him about his lumps, well, I'm sure you're going to put him third in that little situation. But man, oh man, Ramy lacks that polish, that separation. And Hadi, his arms, they're not the best in the world, So Derek's, he's matching him on that situation. I like the quads on Hadi. Massive quads. One feature of him that was better. 2019. Wow. Pretty close between those three guys, and I think it's Boo Bunder over Nick. I think Nick's pretty strong in the 2022. That's for sure. Better at least in this pose than he is now, in my opinion. Here's the second shot. A pose in which not as good for Nick Walker when he's all massive like this. So it is debatable what type of version is overall the best for Mr. Walker. He's getting last in the front lat spread. I would give Derek second to last, probably. Yeah, Boo Bunder, he's just bigger, and they're similar in that shot. Not the best. Far from the worst, though. It's between Hadi and Ramrod. And I think when things are close, you're going to go with the bigger guy. Although, I will say, Hadi looks like he has more separation and polish. Good lighting, perhaps? I didn't think 2020 was that bad for the lighting, but not too bad. So very close between first and second in this front lat spread with, I'll go with Ramrod. And I believe that will make it a tie between Hadi and Big Ramy out of the two front shots. And I think it is close between the front double and the front lat between those two guys. Keep things fair. Sure, some people will have 2 for Hadi or 2 for Ramrod. Here's the side chest development. And I can hear you guys now.
But Mark's Max Muscle, why is Big Ramy so short all of a sudden?
Well, he bends at the knees. If you've ever seen any pictures of Ramrod, sizing is an issue. It is an issue. Look at the size of his quad. His upper body nowhere near matches that. And that's why I never give him the first prize in the side chest against a guy like Brandon Curry. Is he beating Hadi? I never preferred Hadi in this shot either. Very peeled, though. Shredded to the diced. Look at Boo Bunder. Holy old Toledo 11. Look at that. He lacks that big man's chest, like the big 70s bow, like I used to call it. Which Derek Lunsford, he kind of has the best 70s bow. He does. Good overall shape, but Boo Bunder's arms. Holy cow. Crying out loud. Nick Walker, very balanced. Upper, lower half. Pretty good. When you consider a lineup like this, balance, I think, does make more of a difference. Especially when you look at Big Ramrod. His upper body definitely needed to be bigger. His arms in 2020 were not at their peak. You could argue his conditioning was at his peak, but definitely not his arm size nor his chest. Pretty close overall, though. I think Roelly Winkaar might be winning this one. I think Nick's right there with him. If Derek had a little more separation, I think he'd be beating Hadi and Big Ramrod. But I don't know. Hadi seems to be the most peeled. Ramy's the biggest. Close between those last three. I'm going to have to go back and with a fine-tooth comb and decide between those three. Here's the side tricep. See, lineups get very difficult, and that's why the judges usually put it into groups of 3. But today it's a group of 5. And you can see that it's more difficult. But funner, too. Funner for you guys to watch me make mistakes. Now, most of you guys, gals, I say guys as a blanket term, by the way. I mention that every once in a while to keep things peaceful amongst all of the sexes. But anyway, most of you fellacines would vote for Roelly the Beast Winklaar in this one based on his tricep. I am not going to give him the win. I'm going to give him second due to the fact that this is a hoo-ha pose, not a hit-to-spec side tricep. But I will respect the man, and he, second's pretty good. Nick Walker, in my opinion, is the best. Upper, lower body, midsection, everything seems to be, all the boxes are clicked. He's notched all the boxes, whatever you would say. Whatever the smarter people would say. I just think it's the best side tricep overall. Plus, he's hitting it to spec. If Beast Winklaar could do that, yeah, I'd give it to him. Now, with the last three gentlemen, it is, Ramrod's huge. He's massive. But Hadi's just so gosh darn peeled. And he was in the side chest, too. But Derek, I like you, Derek. But it's just a combination of things very similar to Big Ramy. And I'd actually give it to him over Big Ramy. I kind of prefer his arm a little bit better. But Ramrod's midsection's just destroying Derek's. And with a bigger frame, it just makes the softer midsection seem very obsolete. And Hadi's peeled as the day is long. I prefer his side tricep back then to nowadays. Not all the shots, but I do prefer this one better. Now, thus far, conditioning between all of these guys, somewhat similar. Maybe Hadi or Nick, maybe the most conditioned. But when we turn around, we have to judge accordingly. Hey, one guy's ripped from the front. We award him the points over a softer guy. So, same thing can be held true for the back shots. And Derek Lunsford is the most conditioned guy on this stage. Maybe not. I think their backs, their V-tapers, all pretty good. Hadi's is the best. Hadi's back is the best. Derek's probably the second best. Boobunder's is not bad. Nick's not bad. And Ramrod's, he's the biggest. But I don't know if his backs might even be the least impressive. Now, condition of the lower half, things of that nature, I think Boobunder is going to get the last place in this one. With all due respect, hey, everybody else is pretty good. They always boo when somebody gets fifth, but it's like, well, somebody's going to be better than him. And Nick Walker, I think, would be next in line as far as conditioning. Now, conditioning of the lower half, very important in these shots. It is to the judges, so should be for us fans as well. I think Nick and Hadi are pretty close in the conditioning of the lower half. To be honest with you, Hadi's not quite as shredded to the diced as he did actually get in, say, 2022, when he won the Olympia, or even last year. But having said that, Hadi's back is better than Nick's. I think, unfortunately for Nick, at least in the rear lat spread. Rear double is going to be a different story altogether, but the rear lat spread, I think Hadi has his number with similar condition, like I said. And Ramrod and Derek, I think hands down are the most conditioned. Actually, take a close look, guys, because you really have to take a close shot, because Hadi has the separation, don't get me wrong. But I think the thin skinity of these three, he would be last in line. Popcorn fart dry is Ramrod. Just like I said before, you take a towel and just zing it. You think it's dry, but you can squeeze it till your hands turn purple. You get one little drop of water out of there. That looks like those guys. Not the fancy separation of Hadi, but wow. But here's the thing. Hadi's not soft, and he has the best back. But I can't give him the win, guys. I can't. Even though 90% of you guys are going to, oh, Hadi has the best back. He's the least conditioned out of these three. I think, my opinion, I'm going to give Ramy third, I think. I think he's a little less conditioned. I think if you were there live on stage, I got my crystal ball here, I'm looking at these two dudes. Derek is just one glacier harder than Ramy. And he's got a better, more complete back. Smaller, yes, obviously. Big Ramy's huge. I think Derek's going to win this one. I think Ramrod's going to get third in this lineup. And we're going to go ahead and award Hadi the second because he has the best back. I'll admit. And one more thing, I'll definitely admit. Very difficult to do these 5-way comparisons. Here's the rear double. Not the same as the rear lat. I'll tell you that right out of the chute. Hadi was, in fact, beating Nick with similar condition, mind you, in that rear lat, because his lat spread was better. Not going to play that game with Mr. Walker in the rear double. Boom. Nick has perhaps the best back in this shot. Derek's is pretty good, too. And we know how conditioned Derek is, so it's going to be between those two. Between those two dudes. And between Hadi and Ramy, you're going to go with Ramy because he's big. He's much bigger. Hadi's back, the lat insertions, little bit better than Ramrod's, but Ramy's so much bigger that it does, make a little bit of difference. But having said that, we know Ramy is a little bit drier than Hadi. Now, Bubunder, what can you say? He's not bad. I mean, this conditioning does not suck at all. It's actually quite improved from any of his other versions that he brought. I mean, he was peeled. But it just so happens that all these other guys are some of the most shredded versions of any bodybuilder that you're ever going to see in the free world. Go to the abs and thigh. Ooh, Bubunder. Roelly Winkaar. If you wonder who Bubunder is, it's Roelly the Beast Winklaar. Used to be a nickname that Louis Marco gave to him, if I'm not mistaken. Bubunder from Down Under, even though he was not from Down Under. But having said that, he has a very mean and very slick abs and thigh pose with the best V-taper, I think. Look at that. Waistline, primo stuff. Hadi Choopan has improved in this shot in recent years. It was his, I don't want to call them love handles. Hey, his abs were just as deep then. Maybe. But his waistline itself, he has refined it. So kudos to Hadi Choopan. And dare I give Hadi second in this one? I think I just might. I think I just may. I think I just did. With Nick Walker, is Nick beating Ramy? No, Ramy's not too bad. Nothing that impressive. He leans forward. He's doing the exact same pose as Derek Lunsford. Maximize the V-taper. That's what he's doing. No, sing. But he is bigger and very dry in the quads. Derek not nearly as dry, popcornery from the front. Is he? Interesting. Very interesting indeed. So, a little bit of improvements definitely needed from Lunsford. But I'm going to go ahead and give Nick an edge over him. Even though last time I did compare these two guys. I did give Derek the abs and thigh. It's a different story. I didn't see no vacuum. I didn't see no friggin' vacuum. Pardon my language there, folks. Not very becoming at all to curse and swear like that. And I apologize for any instances that I did shout out curse words in the past. Here's the most muscular. A guy like Ramrod, he's definitely taking over in a shot like this. I think I made him too big. Because he is crouching down a little bit. But keep in mind, he's the biggest, tallest guy out here. Bubunder, they made him a little too small, but you got to think he's leaning forward. And he does have the smallest quads. And I think that really hurt him in this matchup. He's going against some studs with some quads. But having said that, a shot like this, I do like Bubunder. I do like Roelly the Beast Winkaar. Massive, big delts, biggest arms. And then you look at everybody else's quads, and it's like, well, is he the best? I could give him as far as second, maybe third. I think that Nick Walker looks good. I think Hadi Choopan looks very good. Look at those legs. Keep in mind, his quads were probably at their best, 2019. And you can't notch Ramy down. He's just too big. He's almost as big as I was. And by I mean Jay Cutler. This is Jay Cutler. I've joined the... I'm just joking. It's not. Jay Cutler's not in the studio. Don't get all excited for nothing. So maybe Derek would be the only obvious one here. He might get last place, due to the lack of separation and hardness, which did favor him in those back shots. So a few of these poses, guys, almost impossible to make a fair judgment on it. And like I said before, mate, that's why they do lineups of 3 guys. I think they pick the best conditioned guys, the most conditioned guys to work the, who's in the lineups. Then they do the lineups, and it's easier for everybody involved. But having said that, when I do add up all of these points, these so-called points, I'll add up all of the poses. Here's the conclusion. The very, I was going to say laughable, but I don't know. It's a very laughable, it's a very controversial outcome. I have Boo Bunder, Roelly the Beast Winklaar winning this one, with Big Ramrod Momdelsbae getting second, third place to Nick Walker, fourth to Hadi Choopan, and poor Derek. He does not fare very well at all in picture comparisons. So what does that tell you? Tells you that picture comparisons do not tell the whole story. He is one of the better posers. They call for a shot. He is in it. He holds it tight, and he can hold it the next day. Hold it for 3 days if you want. Things of that nature. But having said that, guys, it's probably worth something that Roelly the Beast Winklaar can place so very high in certain shots. Maybe not the best in the back shots, but he wasn't losing or even placing very low. And anything else, really. Front lat, maybe not the better one, but wasn't losing by any means. But having said that, if you were to ask me who would really win, this is just me and pictures, who would really win? Well, the conditioning from behind is going to place a whole lot more factor, I think, on who would win. I think Big Ramy would probably win this one. If it just so happens that all of these 5 guys walked on the stage with these exact versions, wouldn't that be exciting? Sure would done be exciting. I think Derek, he's winning Olympia titles now, but I don't see Nick Walker around, Boo Bunder, or Big Ramy. Well, Nick Walker wasn't around when he won the title. Hadi Choopan, that's a different story. 2019. I think it was maybe better in 2019 than he was last year. He was maybe his best at the Arnold Classic. But having said that, guys, just for fun, just to see who the best people's champion is, and you know what? I think it's kind of fitting that I have Roelly the Beast Winklaar winning this one. Because if you did vote for the people's champion with all these guys, I think the people would vote for Roelly because they always love this guy. He just has that thing about him that I think just everybody likes. Taking nothing away from the rest of the guys, but we love you, Roelly, and we can't help but vote for you in shots, poses, things of that nature. Might not have been the best bodybuilder of all time, but probably one of the most liked. Hit thumbs up, and I guess at the end of the day, it's probably just as good. Hit thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And you gotta end this one off by mentioning Günther Schlierkamp. He was the People's Champ before the People's Champ was even anything. For sure, 2002. He got 5th. Have a great one, guys.